Hello, welcome to my weekly update. If you were here with me on my last update, I talked a little bit about how I went to rehab for prescription benzodiazepines, kratom, and then also marijuana. So when we left off, I was right here. And I'm definitely still in the withdrawal phase, especially from the benzodiazepines. My anxiety is absolutely through the roof most of the time. And I'm having issues sleeping and just, being comfortable, things like that. So it's definitely not as bad as it was last week. Like that last episode or that last update that I did, I was so out of it. I honestly barely remember it. So I'm very slowly improving, and one of the things that I figured out as I was kind of moving through my week was that the things I was experiencing and feeling, the symptoms that I was having weren't necessarily all from post-acute withdrawal syndrome. They were from toxic mold reexposure from the actual facility. I've never been in a building that's had that much visible black mold in it before. It was about a 15-foot wide patch, about 12 inches high, and it was on the ceiling in one of the common areas right outside where you would line up to get med call, and then also right next to the main TV room. And it was just black mold all over the ceiling near the skylight. And then also in the other common area, I could see, like if you looked up at the ductwork, you could see on the ceiling little pieces of black mold starting to get stuck. And that actually having mold in the air ducts was how I got sick the first time. So I'm a little paranoid about that. But this was my first time ever being in a building that had that much visible black mold just out in the open for everyone to see. What's so frustrating about this is that, you have all these well-intentioned medical professionals who are genuinely wanting to help you through some really difficult times, but yet they don't understand the environmental factors and how that impacts your health, such as toxic mold or, let's say, heavy metals, toxins in general. Just the list goes on and on and on. So it's getting to a point where the amount of frustration that I feel from being this sick again from a medical facility is like, it's getting to the point where ignorance is no longer an excuse. Because since my last update, I have spent every single day in bed. My GI issues are worse. My sinusitis is back, like with a vengeance. And it's so bad that, I wake up in the middle of the night because I can't breathe because my sinuses inside are so swollen and tight and painful. It's awful. And, then comes a host of other issues and symptoms. For me, toxic mold exposure really, really impacts my brain. I'll have a lot of PTSD-like symptoms pop up. So like rumination, invasive thoughts, start talking to myself, weird stuff that really isn't who I am at all. But these symptoms that I'm discussing right now are easily confused with mental health issues. And it just makes me wonder how many people could possibly be misdiagnosed like I was. But yeah. So once I figured out that I did indeed have toxic mold reexposure, I added a few things back into my regimen. I added a couple binders, so I got 2 binders on board. I'm also nebulizing ozonated glycerin 2 times a day for 10 minutes. And then I'm doing a nasal rinse with a Navage, which I learned down here, and rapid gut reset. And that's with distilled water, saline, and CellCore BioToxin Binder, and CellCore Para 3. And, I gotta be totally honest with you, the first couple days of reintroducing these things back into my regimen were awful. It was absolutely awful. It felt like I had punched in the face. My sinusitis was so bad. So, I'm very, very slowly starting to get better. I'm still really symptomatic right now. It feels like my brain is full of mush. It's like playing connect the dot through mashed potatoes, like literally. It's so difficult to do anything that takes any kind of concentration. I can't focus. Like the impact it has on my life is so severe. My pain levels are through the roof, and I'm not taking Kratom anymore for pain. I'm not smoking marijuana anymore. The most I'll allow myself to have is a CBD edible to help with some of that pain, and that's really about it. So I'm definitely staying the course. I don't ever want to go back. Quitting benzodiazepines has been a goal of mine for many years. I've been prescribed them for close to 20. So this is a big shift for me. And, you know, on that note, this entire healing process, the healing from brain damage and waking back up and, you know, being conscious again, essentially, is really hard emotionally. There's no rule book. There's no one to tell me, here's how you handle this. This is how you process your emotions. This is what sadness feels like. This is what anger feels like, fear, all of that. I have to relearn all of that kind of on my own. And, you know, I'm grateful to have that opportunity because so many people like myself just don't get better. So I'm incredibly grateful, as confusing as it may be, to have this opportunity to grow into the person that I'm meant to be. But I will say this, that this healing process has been like peeling an onion. Every layer, you know, every piece of brain you get back or brain power you get back, you know, it kind of unveils a new level in your life. It's really hard to explain, but you know, when I got home from rehab the other week, last week or whatever, I can remember coming into my room and sitting down, and then all of a sudden it hits me. Like it straight up smacks me upside of the head, like what I've been through in the American medical system, the inhumane treatment, the negligence, just all of it is so awful. And the reality of that really hit home when I got back here, because, you know, I've been over medicated for 20 years. So this is the first time I've had my brain back since my car accident. And yeah, it's a lot of heavy stuff to have to kind of sort out and figure out. And, you know, there is kind of almost a grieving process, a sense of loss. You know, losing close to 20 years is a really long time. And I don't have any reference for how long that actually is. I have long-term memory damage, so my memories are really patchy. A lot of times somebody will say something and I'll remember bits and pieces, but I won't know where on my timeline in my life that it actually happened. It's been something that's been an ongoing project for me, like as I've healed, to kind of piece my life back together, which hasn't always been pleasant. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. It's a really difficult path to have to walk. And while I am grateful to have it, it's yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Okay, last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about how I'm doing with the CerebroPep microdosing and lion's mane. So here's what I figured out so far. I can do CerebroPep, 1 capsule with lion's mane one day, and then take a day or 2 off, microdose on those days, and then go back to the CerebroPep and lion's mane. And here's why. So I did 2 days back to back. Normal cycle with CerebroPep for me was 5 days on, 2 days off, kind of like a full-time job. And, you know, that's what I was going to shoot for. But it was kind of like I got too overstimulated and my anxiety went through the roof. So, you know, a little bit would probably be better, like every few days, I think. Or maybe I'll start microdosing and kind of seeing where my sweet spot is right now, because I think 1 capsule at, you know, several days in a row is just a little too much for me. So I'm going to kind of play around with that, because I got an insane amount of symptom relief from the CerebroPep. But I will say that that pep is very real. You know, I've noticed that when I do take it, I'm seeing a decrease in pain levels, increase in ability to focus, think, just more mental energy, and just a brighter, better baseline to return to, which, you know, when you are coming off of narcotics like I am, that's always the hard part, is that your baseline feels like crap. So the CerebroPep definitely helps with that. So I'm going to keep experimenting, kind of see where I land. And yeah, so I think that's it for this week. Thank you. Bye.